Welcome back to Cheddar Politics. This week, President Joe Biden revealed his first slate of judicial nominees. The list of 11 potential judges marks a significant departure from the Trump administration, specifically in terms of the type of nominees, but it shows the Biden administration is perhaps taking a page out of the Trump playbook when it comes to judges.
Absolutely, JD. So to understand the future of the federal judiciary, we first have to look back at what the Trump administration did here, what the Biden team learned from it, and then, JD, we'll look into our crystal ball, and we might see what the future might hold for the highest court in the land, because one of these names might be on that bench.
Wait, we haven't done crystal ball segment in like a long time, so that's like throwback Cheddar Politics.
Dust off the crystal ball, JD. There's a lot of dust on there.
You used to do that every week back in the day. All right, let's begin with the last administration. President Donald John Trump and then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell worked very closely together to nominate and confirm more than 200 federal judges in 4 years. That includes 3 Supreme Court appointments, of course. The selections were made with the help of conservative interest groups like the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation to ensure that those being put on the bench were rock-solid conservatives and were also young enough oftentimes to be able to sit on the courts for decades. McConnell said the mission to confirm judges, quote, by appointing and confirming the strict constructionists to the courts who are in their late 40s or early 50s, we're making a generational change in our country that will be repeated over and over and over down the years. Of course, because of the work Republicans put in the last 4 years, the Biden folks have a bit of catching up to do.
They do, JD. And after a lot of pressure on the campaign trail, the Biden team has put a higher priority on those judicial nominees. They want to rebalance the federal bench. The Biden administration has made clear with their first listed nominees, representation is a priority here, and not just in the sense of race and gender. The administration also looking for potential nominees that don't have that typical professional background that you might have as a federal judge. Rather than a resume that includes an Ivy League degree or maybe a prestigious clerkship and time maybe at a big name law firm, several of these nominees, JD, have experience being public defenders, and they received their legal education at public law schools. The nominees are also young as well. They're in their late 40s and early 50s, just like many of the Trump-appointed judges. The list also led by 3 black women who would fill seats on the Court of Appeals if confirmed. And among them, JD, the big one, U.S. District Court Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, Judge Jackson will be replacing Merrick Garland on the D.C. Circuit. That is the second most important court in the country after Garland resigned to become the Attorney General. Now, Ketanji Brown Jackson, that is an important name, but maybe not one you've heard of before, but it could be one you'll hear a lot of in the near future. That's because Jackson is viewed as a potential Supreme Court pick for President Biden to put on the Supreme Court, JD.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't know a ton, but we can certainly read the tea leaves here just a little bit. During the presidential campaign, then candidate Joe Biden pledged to elevate a black woman to the U.S. Supreme Court if given the chance. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki this week downplayed talk of future SCOTUS picks, but said the president remains committed to that promise.
This is a priority for him, but our focus is on getting the Senate to confirm these group of nominees and to continue to build a pipeline of additional highly qualified nominees who are going to reflect the values the president has outlined.
Is that commitment on the table?
Of course, to nominate an African-American woman to the Supreme Court? Yes, absolutely. It certainly is.
And on top of all that, Democrats now have a majority in the U.S. Senate. That means they can confirm any candidate as long as they stick together. The only thing left to happen for the president to keep his word is for a seat on the Supreme Court to open up. Since the justices have lifetime appointments, of course, only death or retirement can create a vacancy. The most likely candidate to step down is Justice Stephen Breyer. Justice Breyer is 82 years old, has served on the Supreme Court since the 90s when President Clinton appointed him. Many in left-leaning legal circles want to see Justice Breyer retire sooner rather than later to ensure a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate can appoint and confirm a liberal replacement. They look back, remember this, to 2013 when the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg faced pressure to retire and she didn't, only then to have her seat filled by a Republican president and an arch-conservative replacement in Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Another wrinkle in all this is that Ketanji Brown Jackson clerked for Breyer at the Supreme Court, and she was on President Obama's shortlist to fill the vacancy left by the late Justice Antonin Scalia back in 2016. Many court observers say Jackson eventually replacing Breyer would be an almost perfect fit. But when it comes to Jackson's appellate nomination or any of the other nominations, the Senate Judiciary Committee will take them up in the coming weeks or months. It's unclear what the confirmation hearings will actually look like in and of themselves, but we are likely to see some very prominent Republicans on the Judiciary Committee. Think of names like Senators Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley. You can rest assured will probably be the loudest objectors to any nominee put forward by President Biden.
Absolutely. Indeed.
Baker here, I know we got to go here, but it's interesting, too, before we go, if we can, that Whip Clyburn was on MSNBC last night and spoke more about that reporting that you and I talked about from the authors of the book Lucky, and he really recounted this scene at that debate in February,
which is huge.
A couple years ago, where he goes back and he's like, Joe, you need to make this announcement on the debate stage if you want this endorsement. And Biden felt it was a little forced. So he worked it into his closing statements, got a huge applause, and the rest is history.
The rest is all history, and the rumor is maybe Breyer steps down this summer. So that could be interesting if we have a SCOTUS fight this summer.